Despite our modern engineering marvels, a simple road trip from North to South America remains physically impossible. Let that sink in for a moment. In an era of superhighways spanning vast distances and bridges connecting previously isolated regions, you simply cannot drive from Alaska to Argentina. The road, quite literally, ends. If you attempted this journey, driving from the frozen reaches of Alaska through Canada, the United States, Mexico, and into Central America, you would eventually reach a point where civilization abruptly ceases. The pavement crumbles away, and before you stands the infamous Darien Gap, a formidable 60-mile stretch of some of Earth's most treacherous terrain. This is no ordinary undeveloped land. The Darien Gap is a nightmarish realm of dense swamplands and impenetrable jungle that has historically swallowed explorers whole. This forbidding region serves as a shadowy sanctuary for drug smugglers, a perilous corridor where desperate migrants frequently disappear, and a place where nature itself seems determined to resist human encroachment. Psychologists who work with migrants who have survived passage through the gap describe it as a nightmare with 1,000 demons. What's truly astonishing is that this break in connectivity persists, despite a century-old ambitious plan to unite the Americas with one continuous highway. A visionary project that would bind 2 continents and transform global trade forever. The Pan-American Highway dream began in 1923, when representatives from nations across the Americas gathered in Santiago, Chile, for the 5th International Conference of American States. Their bold vision: to weave the entire Western Hemisphere together with an unbroken ribbon of highway stretching from Alaska to Argentina. This wasn't merely about building a road, it represented the forging of a collective identity. Pan-Americanism, the profound concept that the nations of North and South America share a common destiny. By 1936, this dream began taking formal shape. The Pan-American Highway would begin at Prudhoe Bay in Alaska, cut through Canada and the United States, wind through Mexico and Central America, then trace the Pacific coast of South America before cutting across to Buenos Aires, ultimately reaching Argentina's southernmost tip. On paper, it was a magnificent continent-spanning endeavor. In reality, construction evolved into a complex jigsaw puzzle of interconnected national highways, each built to different standards with varying levels of funding, yet gradually coming together. One by one, the gaps were filled, all except for one, the indomitable Darien. The Darien Gap stands as nature's most emphatic no trespassing sign. This isn't merely challenging terrain, it's an environment actively hostile to human interference. Picture the densest, most forbidding jungle imaginable, then amplify its ferocity tenfold. The ground consists of mud so deep it can swallow vehicles whole. Rainfall is relentless and heavy, particularly from May to December, transforming the land into a shifting, unstable morass. Rivers prone to flash floods can wash away anything in their path without warning. The wildlife presents equally formidable challenges. The Darien teems with deadly creatures, venomous snakes that strike without sound, scorpions lurking in every shadow, and formidable crocodiles patrolling murky waterways. Perhaps most dangerous are the smallest threats: mosquitoes carrying malaria, dengue fever, and yellow fever, invisible killers that have claimed countless lives over centuries. American journalist Jason Motlaw, who courageously walked through the gap in 2016, described his experience vividly. The mud-slick ground shifts beneath you, causing you to stumble so often in waterlogged boots that an ankle injury seems inevitable. Thorns snag on my clothes and slice at my arms. And though I'm slathered in bug repellent, the mosquitoes are punching through. From head to toe, the jungle wants to consume its guests. This is no place for construction crews, it's barely habitable for humans at all. When engineers first surveyed this formidable gap, they encountered problems that defied conventional solutions. Building along the coastline initially seemed logical until they discovered rugged, impassable headlands and countless river mouths that made construction virtually impossible. Moving inland, they confronted the Atrato Swamp, a vast wetland intricately laced with rivers and streams. During early tests, engineers dropped heavy barrels into this basin, only to watch them sink an astonishing 15 stories before hitting anything resembling solid ground. 15 stories of treacherous muck and water. Modern bridge-building technology offers little help. The impressive 34-mile Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, completed in 2018, benefited from solid bedrock for its foundations. The Atrato Swamp, by contrast, offers almost no stable ground. A floating bridge might seem viable, but the world's longest floating bridge in Seattle stretches less than 1.5 miles, a mere fraction of what would be needed to span the Darien's wetlands. By the 1990s, a Colombian engineering firm developed what seemed the most promising plan yet. A route that would cleverly skirt the worst swamps by following higher, more stable ground where possible. Their detailed surveys revealed a challenging but potentially viable path, given sufficient concrete, steel, and determination. However, as we'll see, nature wasn't the only obstacle standing in their way. The Darien Gap doesn't merely resist human passage, it serves a critical ecological function. This narrow strip of jungle is a biodiversity hotspot, home to over 169 mammal species, including the critically endangered brown-headed spider monkey and the elusive Baird's tapir. Thousands of invertebrate species and numerous endemic plants exist here and nowhere else on Earth. More remarkably, the Darien functions as nature's own border wall between North and South America, preventing species from crossing between continents and disrupting established ecosystems. Consider the coyote, found only in North America. When coyotes attempt to venture south through the gap, jaguars lurking within the dense jungle inevitably intercept them. If coyotes ever established themselves in South America, they could devastate populations of capybaras, peccaries, and various rodents, unraveling ecological relationships that evolved over millions of years. Despite its inherent dangers, the Darien Gap has always attracted adventurers seeking to conquer its challenges. In 1960, motorcyclist Danny Liska attempted to cross but was forced to abandon his motorcycle and continue by foot and boat. A year later, a team driving 3 Chevrolet Corvairs spent 109 days traversing the jungle, returning with only 2 vehicles after surrendering 1 expensive Chevy to the insatiable wilderness. The most significant attempt to bridge the Darien came from an unexpected source: U.S. President Richard Nixon. By the 1970s, Nixon had become fixated on completing the Pan-American Highway, viewing it as crucial for boosting trade, forging unity across the Americas, and preventing the spread of communism during the Cold War. In 1971, he committed $100 million toward the $150 million project, approximately $1.18 billion today, hoping to complete it by America's 1976 bicentennial. Nixon even envisioned the conquered gap bearing his name, the Nixon Gap, standing alongside other presidential infrastructure achievements. However, Nixon hadn't anticipated the formidable opposition of the Sierra Club. This environmental organization launched a vigorous campaign highlighting the irreparable damage construction would cause to the ecosystem and indigenous communities. They found an unexpected ally in American cattle ranchers, who feared the spread of hoof-and-mouth disease from Colombia, a threat that could potentially destroy 25% of U.S. cattle and cost ranchers $10 billion annually. This unlikely alliance secured a legal injunction that halted the project, crumbling Nixon's grand vision. Despite the absence of a road, thousands of migrants make the perilous journey through the Darien Gap annually, fleeing poverty and violence in South America and beyond. In 2023 alone, over 500,000 people attempted this crossing. Mothers carrying infants, elderly individuals, entire families, all risking everything to traverse a jungle that governments and engineers deemed too dangerous for road construction. Many never survived the journey, falling from cliffs, drowning in rivers, succumbing to disease, or falling victim to criminal gangs that control the region. In the 21st century, practical alternatives have emerged. Shipping companies now offer vehicle transport between Colón, Panama, and Cartagena, Colombia, for approximately $1,000. Travelers can ship their vehicles by boat while flying themselves to their destination. It's not the seamless drive that Pan American Highway dreamers envisioned, but it provides a functional workaround. Air travel between the countries has expanded significantly, with multiple daily flights connecting major cities, effectively rendering the gap's impenetrability a mere inconvenience rather than a critical barrier for most travelers. The Darien Gap remains today what it has always been: wild, dangerous, and uncrossable by conventional means. And perhaps that's not a failure, but a success. While Nixon saw bridging the gap as symbolic of Pan-American unity, its preservation might represent an even more powerful symbol. A reminder that the Americas value nature's boundaries alongside human ambition. The gap also serves as a living laboratory for scientists. Researchers have discovered dozens of new species there in recent decades, including frogs, insects, and plants with potential medical applications. For indigenous communities who have inhabited this region for centuries, the Embera, Wunan, and Guna peoples, the gap's persistence has helped preserve cultures that might otherwise have been overwhelmed by outside influences. In a world where we've scaled the highest peaks, plumbed the deepest oceans, and sent robots to Mars, these 60 miles of untamed wilderness force us to confront a profound question. Is progress solely measured by our ability to conquer nature? Or is there wisdom in recognizing that some connections are better left unmade? The Darien Gap, stubbornly resisting human will, reminds us that sometimes our greatest achievements lie not in what we build, but in what we choose to leave untouched. Perhaps the road that never was is the road we never truly needed.